Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Welcome to MFSN, the Hub's fantasy football strategy show, Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. I'm Dr. Dan Ratner, and I'm here, as always, with Ross, the boss.
Or you can call me the
Ted Kaczynski?
Unabomber.
Right.
Take that off. Hey, everybody. Welcome to MFSN, the Hub. I'm Ross, the boss, and this is going to be a great informational fantasy football show. We'll we may throw some waiver wire picks in there. I don't know. But the obvious is out there. Where's KC Vlad to the Bone Shinefold?
I know. He is a TikTok sensation. We had a nice viral video going with Casey, and then I think he got shy. He just couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it. He was like, "Oh my God."
He was going out to dinner with his family, people asking him for his autograph. He was being bugged during dinner.
So he's trying to cool it off, guys. So if you want an autograph, go for Ross. He's ready. He's ready to go.
I'm ready. Exactly.
All right, Ross. Well, in fantasy football, as we know, every week things shuffle. You get new results, and then you start thinking new things. So what are some of your big takeaways from last week that you want to highlight for the viewer? And of course, you guys just ask your questions because this is a strategy show. So you can ask us about trades, about waiver wire strategy, about we had the video that went viral was about vetoes, and everybody wants to talk about that. So we're up for talking about whatever. But Ross, what are your takeaways from this week?
Well, I mean, the takeaway I'll give is the Dallas Cowboys fantasy value for any player on their team is horrible. I mean, if you have CeeDee Lamb, either hopefully you can dump him or trade him. I mean, his value is almost zero. I mean, seriously,
at least cut in half for sure.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he's not a top tier guy, not top tier one for sure. Cowboys overall, I mean, it's just going to get worse. It's not going to get better. I mean, you lost your quarterback for the year. You have Cooper Rush and Trey Lance who have no idea what they're doing. I'm tired of hearing, "Oh, Trey Lance, he just needs some more. He just needs time. Time's over."
He was a bust long ago, if you ask me.
Exactly.
I felt it in the draft. Yeah.
When a player doesn't have, look at Richardson for the Colts. We can talk about him. He's got his job back. Richardson is back as the Colts quarterback. Joe Flacco is benched. I mean, he's another guy that hasn't been playing quarterback much in the NFL or in college. And it shows. I mean, when he's out there, he looks panicked. He's not hitting his targets. And he's good for 1 or 2 interceptions a game. I mean, I just feel the Colts picked a guy that has no experience.
Well, it shows you how quarterback driven this league is. Dak Prescott goes down, and all Cowboys are essentially pretty useless from fantasy purposes. I mean, interesting to hear what other people have to say about it, but I think Ross and I agree. All of your Dallas Cowboys are massive downgrades, including CeeDee Lamb. And then when you've got these young quarterbacks who come in with no college experience, especially guys like Anthony Richardson who don't know how to keep themselves from getting injured because they're just running the ball so much, or even a guy like Tua. I mean, Tua's got to learn to slide. He's got to do it very fast because he's going to be out of his
I
career.
agree. And talking about Miami, I mean, Tyreek Hill today was quoted. This is a quote. I'm not making words up. He dismisses surgery. I'll play even if I have to cut off my wrist off. So his wrist is in. I mean, he was like, when you play sports and you don't know if you can go because your legs, like your hamstring or your knee is hurt. This guy didn't know if he could play because of his wrist. I mean, it's not like you can go out there and you don't really have to test your wrist. You can do that in the locker room.
Yeah, and listen, a lot of these guys they're super tough, and we've got a question coming in from Real Time Review. We'll be right with you, Tommy. But these guys are super tough. They'll gut through anything, but at a certain point, you're really limited when you cannot do certain things physically. And so Tyreek Hill, unfortunately in Dynasty, I have CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill.
I would be on the top of a bridge somewhere thinking about jumping off if I was you, but that's me.
Don't do that, anybody.
Dan is a certified therapist, mental expert.
Do not listen to Ross.
I cannot tease him about that type of stuff because
I joke about most things.
No, I know I shouldn't joke at that with you. But with Tyreek Hill, it's like another top tier wide receiver that we all took in the first round. We all had high hopes for him beginning of the year. And now he's not 100%. You know, I mean, he usually is good for 100 yards and a touchdown every week, and he's not even coming close. I mean,
now
really
CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill are basically the equivalent of like 6th round picks. You know, they could provide value.
I think Tyreek Hill had a touchdown last week. I think he did.
He did, but it was like with like 14
yards.
Yeah,
I thought he caught it. Yeah, it was like a 4-yard touchdown thing, but he's not
so
getting 100 yards. I mean, close.
And listen, let's not overblow this. Also, we don't totally know what this is going to be like, especially with Tyreek Hill, but I am very concerned about CeeDee Lamb. Let's get to some of the comments, and then we'll get back to some of the highlights of the week. Okay, Real Tommy V says, completed trade Nico and Rashad White for Ken Walker. Needed to reinforce my running backs. I have JT, Chase Brown, and Chuba Hubbard. Been winning with Nico on the shelf. I'm 7-3. Wow. Ross, what do you think about this deal?
He has JT, who I like this week. I think Jonathan Taylor is finally 100% healthy, so I think he'll go for 100 yards. Chase Brown scares me, but overall, Nico. I love Nico Collins. I mean, I'll tell you right now.
Ross and I are the biggest Nico fans. On the earth.
I mean, he's coming back this week. I mean, he has to play this week. There's no way he's going to say he's last minute. I'm not playing. I mean, Houston has to win this game.
Yeah,
and Rashad White went to an unbelievable university. So I love Rashad White. I don't love that trade. I mean, Ken Walker. I mean, the third. I mean,
I like him getting Ken Walker, but I don't love the trade because Nico's that good.
Yeah, I'm a Nico guy, so you're talking to the wrong guy. I wouldn't trade Nico Collins, right? Especially right now.
Watch this, Ross. Look at his wide receivers: Neighbors, Lamb.
Who's hurt? Neighbors is hurt. Lamb is horrible. We just talked about it.
Scary Terry.
I like Terry. He plays tonight. And Myers.
If that deal were CeeDee Lamb and Rashad White for Walker, I would have been much happier with that.
Yeah,
myself.
I'm worried about Neighbors' his health. He's a rookie. They're not going to risk him being hurt for this year. The Giants are over. The Giants and Jets are like the laughing stock of the league. If you have any Giants or Jets on your team, those are two other teams that you should stay away from.
Yeah.
I mean, if this isn't dynasty, Neighbors to me is just not worth. He's a 3rd-tier, 4th-tier guy in my book, but it's me.
I mean, in dynasty, obviously a different story, as you mentioned. But yeah, I look at these wide receivers, and I would have rather have dealt Neighbors or Lamb than Nico Collins.
Yeah, me too. Team. I do like Terry. I mean, Terry's going to he has 7 touchdowns right now. And
he's kind of underrated these days.
He's 7 touchdowns for the season. If he gets a touchdown tonight, that's going to be his all-time high in his career, which means that. And there's only 11 games in, so this guy's having a career year.
He finally has a quarterback throwing to him. Okay, so Real Time MV says 10-team full PPR. He said not really a question, kind of a flex. So he's feeling good about his wide receivers. Listen, that's great. We're rooting for you, Tommy V. Let us know how that trade works out.
I would start Terry over Lamb right now, but it's me. Okay.
I completely agree with that, and that shows you how far Lamb has fallen. Albert American says, good afternoon. Good to see you, Albert.
Yep.
Real Time MV says, hello, Albert. Nino Pena says, what's up, guys? Good to see you, Nino. Here's Nino's question. Got a trade offer at the deadline. Any thoughts? He wants Reed plus Ingram for Neighbors. I have Goddard,
Reed, who I love,
as my backup. Yeah, we're both high on Reed. So Reed and Ingram for Neighbors.
I would keep Jordan Reed. He wants Jordan. I keep Jordan Reed.
I think Reed is I think Reed and Ingram are much better than Neighbors and Goddard at this point. Reed
Goddard's
is my favorite
backup. Yeah.
Well, but Goddard would end up playing if he deals Ingram.
Right.
So, and he's injury prone. So nothing against Goddard, but for me, it's about Reed versus Neighbors in a redraft league.
Yep.
In a keeper or dynasty league, I prefer Neighbors, but Reed's not far off. And for the season, I prefer Reed. I think you should hold what you got.
I think Reed's a legit number 1 receiver this year. I think every game he's getting better, even though he went to Michigan State. And the whole thing about Neighbors is his quarterback's gonna be Drew. It could be Drew Lock next week. They have a bye week. It could be Drew Lock. They're not admitting who the starting quarterback is in New York, which means Daniel Jones could be out of a job, and you could be seeing Drew Lock throwing to Neighbors. Again, the Giants are in disarray. I wouldn't want to stack any confidence at all.
For me, and Ingram, by the way, has been playing great overall. So I like the players you already have.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, it's Access MIA, I assume, but I don't know. Could be Access Mia. Drop Geno for Herbert. Now Herbert is our cover guy today, so obviously we're high on him. He's come back pretty strong.
Herbert's been 3 games in a row, 20 points fantasy wise, and Harbaugh is just loving this guy. He calls him a beast, and there's a reason why he's calling him a beast. His stats: he's throwing 2 touchdowns a game. Geno Smith has been downgraded in my book. I would drop him if I had him in any of my leagues. I don't, thank God. But I would start Herbert in a second, especially against the Bengals. The Bengals are in disarray. Their defense is horrible.
This is coming from a Bengals fan.
I know, and I have the thing right behind me, right over here. And
there you go.
And it's like Herbert's going to have 3 touchdowns this weekend and 250 yards. That's a Sunday night game.
So I think it's very clear we're both agreeing. Pick up Herbert if he's on what.
Yeah, drop Geno Smith. I mean, it's just and I think isn't what's his name hurt for the Seahawks? Their number 1 receiver is
DK Metcalf.
Isn't he? DK still hurt?
I think he is still hurt. I think he's supposed to come back soon though.
Okay.
Check on that, Ross, while I'm looking. But or you know what? I'll check while you're talking at some point. All right. Real Time of E says get Neighbors. So he's a buy low on Neighbors or just wants to buy. Yeah. I like Neighbors a lot. Don't get me wrong, but I just compared to somebody like Reed or compared to Nico Collins, I'm going the other way. All right. Nino Pena says, but I did a trade in my other league just for playoff schedule. Any thoughts? Interesting.
Playoffs.
And this is really interesting from a strategy perspective. Do you ever make trades for playoff schedule? Casey would. He's way into that sort of thing. Okay, send away Chase Brown and Ingram for James Conner and Otten, and I picked up Benson. I like that trade for you anyway, even without schedule. Am I missing something, Ross?
Chase Brown for Connor's the main.
I'd rather have Conner and Otten than Chase Brown and Ingram.
Yeah,
anyway.
that's a no-brainer. I mean, Otten's the centerpiece right now in Tampa. He's getting a lot of receptions, a lot of targets. And James Conner, knock on wood, he's been healthy the whole year, and he's a touchdown every week. I mean, he looks great. The Cardinals are in first place. I mean, they're not like the joke anymore. I can't make fun of them, which I always like to. But the Cardinals are playing really good football. I mean, they're winning, and no one's noticing. No one cares, but they're in first place.
Yep.
But yes, I like how you picked up Benson. You listened to us as the handcuff. Very smart.
That was smart across the board. And, you're thinking about the schedule, which, Ross, let me ask you, how much do you think about playoff schedule? Let's say you're a team that's looking like you're going to the playoffs. Yeah.
I see what's happening. I mean, the thing is about NFL football, there's bye weeks until all the way to week 14, which is like, they all play Thanksgiving week. And then there's bye weeks. Teams still have bye weeks after Thanksgiving, which is astonishing to me, which is like unbelievable. I mean, they should get it all done before like Thanksgiving, but they don't.
Crazy.
So you got to look, if you have a player that has a bye week and you're in the playoff hunt and your starting quarterback has a bye.
My question.
You better figure that one out. That's not a, you could lose the whole thing because your quarterback has a bye week. I'm just letting you guys know right now.
Yeah, my question though is how much do you factor it in? Like if I see, I mean, there's certain defenses that you want to see lined up against your players. Defenses
I do the week of. I mean, that's defenses.
No, I don't mean playing defenses. I mean looking at the team that you're playing to see what the matchups are, because that's what Nino's talking about.
I mean, listen, beginning of the year we all said, "Oh, the Jets, they have the best defense in the league."
No, we did not all say that.
Well, all the Jets.
Some said.
Okay, some. You live in Cleveland, so you're not a Jets guy.
I've just seen the Jets enough.
The people in Jets were saying how their defense. They compared their defense to the '85 Bears. That's what they were talking about. Oh, and I was like, "What do you guys? What do you? Yeah, exactly." And now they're like, their defense is not good. They're the bottom feeders on defense. And
here's one thing to think about. I mean, and you got to watch out for this in fantasy football. You can see teams shifting, when they start losing, it becomes a different team. They may even have a good defense, but they're not going to play well if they're on the field all the time because their offense is sputtering. It's just not going to happen.
Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
There you go. Real Tommy V says Ingram has a bad QB throwing to him. We do know that, but he's still performing. Don't you think, Ross? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I'm
not saying he's the greatest tight end.
I mean, but Tommy V, he has a great point. I mean, Trevor Lawrence isn't playing this week. Yeah, I don't even know who their backup is anymore, but it doesn't matter. But the thing is, backup quarterback, and you say it all the time, Dr. Dan, is their number one dump off guy is the tight end. So maybe it helps if the starting quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I do not love an Ingram play, but tight end has not been super great.
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm not an Ingram guy. I don't like Jacksonville's offense. I don't like their coach. I think he should be fired. And even though he won a Super Bowl, I don't care. They're playing horrible football in Jacksonville. Horrible.
Yep. All right. Nino Pena agrees with Tommy. So we're all on the same page about that. Then Real Tommy V goes back to his trade. I tried CD, but I'm going to have to eat him. Now that happens. Yeah. There's just times where, and let's keep this real. CD Lamb is not going to be totally useless. I don't see him as totally useless. It's just a big downgrade. And you probably are going to have to go ahead and eat him unless you can find 2-for-1 deals are my favorite ways to solve this kind of problem, though, because there's value hidden in there. So you could package CD with somebody and just get enough of an upgrade that it's better. Who would be a good example of that, Ross? Who would be a slight upgrade from CD so that you get that roster spot in that 2-for-1 deal where you give 2 players, you get the best player in the deal, and you also get the roster spot. But who would that be?
It's just the thing is, when you look to trade people like CD Lamb, they look at their stats and how many touchdowns they had this year and everything else, and they factor all that in and who the quarterback is. So his value is so low. If I can
his value is so far down.
I mean, I don't think you can get him just because he's been hurt a lot. If I could get like a Puka or Cooper Kupp from the Rams, one of their top tier receivers.
Oh, that's a no brainer.
Right. But again, those stats are low for those guys because they haven't played that much. So
you might have to go lower.
I'm seeing examples of 2 guys that haven't played much that their stats. It's like
I see. Right.
Jamar Chase is
because their stats don't. Right. Well, is a guy like Zay Flowers possible, or is he just too far gone now?
I think so. I think Zay Flowers is possible.
See, then I think, and that's the kind of guy.
I think Jordan Reed is possible.
These are the guys I would target. Package CD Lamb with something valuable. Get one of those guys. You get the roster spot. You get the better spot.
I think Mike Evans, who comes back supposedly this week for the Tampa Bay.
I think that's great.
I mean, I like Mike Evans a lot. I would definitely try to get him. I don't know where his health is. Today's Thursday. I don't know if he practiced yesterday. You should look it up.
We'll look it up.
Yeah, but people like guys we just mentioned, Puka, Kupp, people like that, I would definitely try to get rid of CD Lamb immediately.
Yeah, see, I think you don't necessarily have to eat him if you're willing to, find some kind of good package deal like that.
Yeah.
This says Mike Evans is eyeing a return after the Week 11 bye.
Okay, they have a bye week. That's right.
They have a bye week
this week. Right.
But sometimes you can play that to your advantage if you've got enough depth on your bench. Make that call and bring in a guy who's going to do better.
Nico Collins is coming back this week supposedly.
Maybe if you can get Nico Collins in a CD Lamb deal, I think you do it.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
the problem for Tommy V is he had them both.
I mean, yeah.
All right, Real Tommy V. Yeah, Real Tommy V agrees with us on this. I love Chase, but Connor and Cotton and Kate Otten is the play. We agree on that. Okay, Bryce says, afternoon, fellas. Good to see you, Bryce. Need help. Audric Estime or Javante? Probably the worst question on the night, right?
I mean, Estime is their running back. He had 14 carries, I think, last week. Javante had, of course, I played the under on Javante. I knew he wasn't going to play. Javante, I don't think he broke 10 yards rushing, I want to say.
I think Audric Estime is taking over this backfield.
Yeah, I think Javante's days are over. He fumbles too much. And, I don't see Javante being part of the offense at all in Denver.
Also, we've seen this story so many times where the younger running back comes in, performs better. Javante's never performed that well. He's injury prone. This is a team that is looking to find the next pieces that they're building around. It makes much more sense for them to play Estime anyway. Real Time if he agrees with that. All right. Then back to Neighbors. Neighbors has an awesome playoff, and the Giants are probably changing to lock. All right, so listen, nobody here is arguing that Neighbors is a bad play. I think it's more about the degrees to which we like them. Real time is way up on him compared to me and Ross. Ross, you may be at the bottom of the list. I think I have Neighbors kind of.
No, I'm in the middle. I mean, I love LSU receivers. I mean, if you look at the NFL in the top tier, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Neighbors, they all went to the same college. I mean, there's a reason why they all go there. It's because, it's a great place for receivers to go, and they all gravitate there, and I get it. But no, I like Neighbors. I'm nothing against him. I just don't like his quarterback. That's all.
It's all a matter of degrees, a lot of time. By the way, I just want to say, Bryce, your question was awesome. Don't question your question.
That's a great question. I mean,
because leagues can be won and lost on these kinds of things. You don't know that guy, Audric Estime, he could make a big difference to people's playoffs. Javonte, not so much.
Javonte, you bench until I give you further notice.
Yeah. Okay, Bryce has another question. Then start 2. Flowers, Reed, Devontae, or London. I like your choices.
I don't like. Okay, I would throw out. I hate to say it. I mean, this is like crazy talk, but I'll say it. I'm throwing out Devontae.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll
just because he's underperformed lately.
Yeah, and London is still not 100%. So I love Jordan. I'm a big Jordan Reed guy. I just think that he gets a touchdown and he gets a bomb every week, and I love Jordan Love. And Zay Flowers has been the man in Baltimore. I mean, he's been catching a lot of balls.
It's pretty hard to sit either of those two guys.
Yeah, I would Reed and Flowers. What do you think, Dr. Dan?
I mean, I hate to say it because it's so not good for a show to have no controversy in it, but I agree. I would go Flowers and Reed there. I mean, listen, you're not going to go wrong with these players. These are good players, and maybe you want to look at matchups, but it feels hard to start Devontae Smith over Flowers and Reed after the last game that he had. It was such a dud. So
I agree with you. I mean, let's just talk about Aaron Rodgers real quick. I mean, he's having a horrible year. He has no confidence at all. His offensive line, he's not even performing. He's at bottom feeder this year. He's horrible. He should retire, or he should retire.
So listen, I don't necessarily wait. How did we switch to Aaron Rodgers? I lost the
thread. Because we saw Devontae's name. That's all.
Oh, well, Devontae's an Eagle though.
I thought Devontae Adams. Is that who he's talking about?
Oh, is he talking about Devontae Adams? I think he's talking about Devontae Smith.
See, that's funny. We both think.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to pull this up because
that's Devontae Adams.
No,
that's
Devontae
why I was
Adams
saying
is spelled differently.
I'm talking about a Hall of Fame receiver, in benching him. Devontae Smith. The problem with Devontae Smith is this: if it's Devontae Smith, I'll tell you why I don't like him either.
Okay, it is
He's
Devontae Smith.
Either has a big
spelling.
0, or he has 2 touchdowns. I can't. You don't know what's going to happen tonight. There's one thing I'll guarantee tonight. I bet you AJ Brown has 100 yards and a touchdown.
I mean, look, I like Devontae Smith, but I just don't like him more than Flowers or Reed at the moment. I also like Drake London, but I don't like him more.
Yeah, I still like Flowers and Reed. I don't care what Devontae it is. Doesn't matter.
All right.
To me.
Well, that was Devontae Smith, I assume, based on the spelling. Devontae Adams is spelled differently.
The spelling, right.
So that's why I was like, how do we get to Aaron Rodgers? Okay, Albert Marquand, pick 2 half PPR, Mooney, Tillman, and Dell. Dell is automatically in for me.
You like Tank, huh? I like his name. His mom named him that because as a baby he was built like a tank.
Yep. I would go Dell and Tillman myself. I'm not a big Mooney fan, but what do you think?
I agree. I agree 100%. Tillman in Cleveland, I think that's the number 1 receiver right now, right? Dr.
Yeah, and since it's half PPR, he's going to get a lot of targets. Dell, his targets are going to go down with Nico Collins likely coming back finally, but I still think those 2 plays are much better than Mooney. If there was a third name different than Mooney that was, really challenging, I don't know, who, but Mooney to me is a little too hit or miss. And, he's kind of a journeyman wide receiver. I don't trust him at that level.
And I just have a feeling, and I know you're a big Texan guy. I just think that when Collins comes back, I really think CJ Stroud's going to have huge 300-yard games again.
I think it's going to help Stroud so much. Stroud is really underperformed.
He has. I think it's because of Nico Collins. I really do. because when he's in there, I mean, he has 300-yard games. He's 3-4 touchdowns. I mean, he's unbelievable. But right now, he's just stagnant. He's not doing anything.
Let's get back to that in a second, but Real Time of You was weighing in on this. He says Drake London and Devontae in that exchange, so that's interesting.
Total opposite.
It's total opposite, so it's really interesting. But he says Tillman and Dell, so he agrees with me on that one. Actually, I guess agrees with us both.
Yeah.
But when I think about all these plays can be tough, and you got to go with your gut. I say this all the time. Don't take it from us. If you feel strongly about something, go for that. But yeah, I mean, I think Tillman's going to get a ton of targets. I think CJ Stroud, I think that he would be kind of a great buy low right now because he is really underperformed, but he's got Nico Collins coming back. It's going to change a lot of things. I also do wonder, though, Ross, how much has it been that defenses have finally seen CJ Stroud enough to scheme for him more, and are they figuring him out? And then the question becomes, will he figure them out in response, which I believe in him. I think he will.
I think it's Nico Collins and the separation he gets on DBs. I mean, I like Robert Woods. I like the other receivers, Tank Dell. Remember, Diggs is out for the year in Houston, so there's no Diggs right now playing at all. So the receiving core is diminished.
Yeah, it's really true.
So when Collins comes back, that's going to be a huge confidence booster, but also player booster. I mean, this guy, like before halftime, every game he has like a 55, 65-yard bomb every game. And you're like, how did the Texans score? Oh, Collins 65-yard touchdown. I mean, every week.
All right, Daniel Maldonado is weighing in. He says, "Hello, guys from Mexico. Good to see you."
Hola, ¿qué tal? Yep.
Who should I roster? Only two. Shakir, Tillman, or Jennings? Thanks. You want to weigh in first, Ross, or me?
You can go first. Let me just check. Let me just check their matchups.
I would go with Shakir and Tillman for me. Jennings to me is too much of a question mark. I understand that the 49ers have things getting shaken up with injuries, but I just think Jennings he's too boom or bust for me. And Shakir and Tillman, I think, are going to get.
Yeah, Shakir. That's the game of the week.
They have similar upside, but a much better floor.
Yeah, Shakir's playing Kansas City. I mean, that's the best game of the week. Shakir versus Kansas City. It's going to be great. And I like Tillman just because he's the number one target in Cleveland. And I think, I really think they'll be throwing the ball like crazy there. They have nothing to lose. And Jennings, like you said, it's like boom or bust. I mean, he either gets 3 touchdowns or he gets 0 yards. There's no in between.
Right.
I mean, I don't trust Brock Montana at all. I mean, just so you know, I'm not a big Brock Montana guy.
I love you still call him Brock Montana. Are people still calling him that, or is that just you?
I call him that, and you should, and Kick Vlad to the Bone calls him that too.
On this show, we do on this show. I'm just wondering if other people do. Real Time TV agrees with us on Shakir and Tillman, and now we've got a kicker question coming in. Ready? Daniel Maldonado asks, guys, should I start Yuku or Moody?
Cuckoo. I love Cuckoo. I just love that how the little fat face fits in that helmet. It makes me laugh. I like Cuckoo. Moody's been, he's been pretty solid. I think Atlanta fails a lot in the red zone, and I think they have to kick the field goals a lot. I know Cuckoo's been having a tough year, but I still like him. I don't know why. I just like the name, but kickers is like with kickers this year. There's so many great kickers. I mean, look at the kicker for Detroit. I mean, all these kickers that are just having great years.
And not just this year, but kicker is always. I prefer to play in leagues with no kickers.
It's just a lottery thing. You just spin the wheel. It's like you don't know who's going to be kicking.
Actually,
I like Koo.
I do too, but that's a question for the broader community. I wonder, do people prefer to play in leagues without kickers? I vastly prefer it, because what happens is if kickers are in there, there's this element of luck that's so annoying, and it's like you can never predict it, no matter what you do.
And the only kicker I would ever draft and keep the whole year is Tucker for Baltimore, and he's even getting worse in age. I mean, he's been missing field goals.
Please make your league with no kickers, please.
I prefer no kickers, but unfortunately, there's some leagues I still play in that uses kickers, but
all right. Well, Real Tommy V is showing up in support of them. He says, "Pick
Moody. That's fine. There's no arguing. It's a luck. It's a draw luck."
And he's saying he missed a couple last week. He had to knock off the rust. And then he says, "I love using kickers in defense." Okay, tell us what you love about it, Real Tommy V. I want to know because, like, I mean, I get it, and a lot of people do. A lot of people, I think, like that.
I never heard anybody say I love kickers and defense. I mean,
listen, Real Tommy V.
Don't worry about quarterback.
He's really into this.
Defense and kickers. That's what I concentrate on. I mean, if you could take that, if you could say you're the expert of kickers every week and
but you know what?
Start a website and do a podcast about it. I mean, I think people. Really I really think people will listen. We should just do a podcast just talking about team defenses.
What if that was our whole podcast? The whole
that'd be funny.
Just kickers and defense.
Yeah,
but I will say, like, I think one of the reasons people do like using kickers in defense, and in Real Time V's case, loving them, is that they get to watch it.
Loving it.
You know, and here's the other reason. I use them as a scheme. I stream new ones every week. The novelty of the decision every week, I think people like. Now, for some people, that doesn't work as well, like especially for kickers for me, because I don't like that decision because I feel like I always get it wrong. It's like,
how about the kicker?
It's like if you're picking a line, if you're picking a line in the airport, which security line are you going to be in? You'll always pick the slow one. Like that's the way kickers.
In the grocery market, I'm the same way. I go to the grocery store, I see or Costco, I see a short line, and there's a reason why it's short. The person in front of me is a complete buffoon. He doesn't know how to pay his bill, but that happens to me all the time. But you know, the kicker, I forgot his name, but he kicked for Detroit. He kicked for the Lions this year, and the coach Campbell found him in the USFL. And he told the guy, he said, "Listen, I want you to be the kicker for the Lions during the USFL season." He like saw this kid, and the kid never kicked before until like I don't even kicked in college. He was a soccer player.
So this is Jake Bates.
And it's a great story just because Campbell got fined by the NFL for talking to a player that was still in season in the USFL. But long story short, he signed this kid up just watching him on TV, and now he kicked the game-winning field goal last week, 57-yarder. And I mean, it's just amazing how kickers are just found like on the street. I mean, you could send a reel of yourself kicking in your backyard if you have a huge backyard, and to an NFL team. You
end up on an NFL field.
They might call you. I mean, you know. It's like Napoleon Dynamite. Remember Uncle Rico and him throwing the ball with the camera? I mean, kickers can do the same thing. Kickers can do it legitimately, like showing.
Just make a better tape than Uncle Rico. That's
Uncle Rico. I do love that movie. It's so good.
I mean, he did hit him in the face with that stake. He had some good accuracy. All right. Real Time Me has one more comment on this. I have had over 30 plus combined the last 5 weeks. See, this is one of the reasons people do like it. They like the scheme, right? Totally cracking Ross up.
I guess. I mean, again, it's like a guessing game. I mean, you don't know who's going to get the opportunity to kick.
Yeah, you know? I mean, it always feels good when you get it right.
Like Detroit. If you have a high offense like Detroit, Bates is your guy. I mean, it really is.
Yep.
You know, you don't want to take the kicker for the Jets. You don't want to take the kicker for Cleveland. You don't want to take the kicker for, who the Bears that barely scored any points. I mean, you know those guys you want. I get it.
By the way, Ross, the other night I went. The story's going somewhere. I promise. I went to a bar mitzvah. There was a party, and it was at Cleveland Browns Stadium.
Oh,
and we got to walk out into the stadium, and there was no one there. It was just like a regular season game. No, I'm kidding. I had to make the joke. But it's actually really cool if you're a sports fan to walk out into an NFL stadium.
Yeah, I went to a bar mitzvah at Dodger Stadium, and it's the same feeling you had. I mean,
it's pretty cool to see an empty stadium like that. Okay, more questions rolling in.
Cool, who's bar mitzvah? It had to be. Who is it? Somebody with the last name of Mendel. Who was it?
I'll give a shout out to him. It was Austin Ponsky. He's a 13-year-old here in Cleveland. Friends of ours are his parents, and it was a great party. Pretty cool.
That's great.
All right, Daniel Maldonado says, guys, who should I start, Goddard or Pitts? What are the matchups, Ross? Do you know?
I don't care. Don't start Pitts. Waive Pitts. Stay away from Pitts.
Ross hates Pitts more than anyone.
Just like he just has one good game and you get hope, and then all of a sudden he has 4 bad games in a row and you're in the gutter.
And we've been
Goddard, when Goddard's healthy, Hurts loves throwing to Goddard. I mean, look at the stats.
I agree.
When Goddard is healthy, it's a main target for him. He loves him, and he plays tonight. And I think Goddard's going to have a touchdown, and I think he's going to have at least 1 touchdown and 50 yards. That's what I have for Goddard this week. And I was right about Jamar Chase this season. I didn't predict 200 yards, but I did say 2 touchdowns over 100 yards.
Yeah, I mean, this was a good week for you in terms of that prediction. I mean, when I was thinking of number one, some of the number one stories of the week, Jamar Chase with 264 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, he single-handedly not only won matchups, but altered leagues in terms of the amount of points that people were getting.
I mean, because I'm a Bengals fan, I have Jamar Chase in a lot of leagues, but can you imagine you're playing the guy that has Jamar Chase and on Thursday night, you're already down like 80 points. You're already down like 80 points. I mean,
Classic.
What are you going to do?
All right, we've got a comment in, and Ross, I may need your help understanding what this even means.
Okay.
XSMA says, well, what about the destroying dude he never made? Do you have any idea what this context is? Can you clarify?
What about the destroying dude he never made?
I don't know. Maybe there was a typo?
He's talking about a kicker? Bates
I don't know.
Something?
I don't know. This is a great mystery. Access MIA. Let's do some follow-up.
Yeah, don't be MIA in us. Come back and tell us.
I want to find out what you mean by this. This is a great question.
I wish people can call in and we can listen to their question.
They actually they can call in. We it just hasn't been happening recently.
Okay, I don't know.
We have to figure out that system again because it's been a while. Yeah. Okay, Juan Pena Jr., good to see you. Just got offered Brian Robinson Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr. Wow, lots of juniors.
Another 2 juniors.
And Addison for Ken Walker III. There's so many juniors and thirds. Still got Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, Madison, Etienne, and Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson. Should I pull the trigger? Okay, so got offered Brian Robinson and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yes, Marvin
and
Harrison. Tell the folks
what you said
about the folks what you said about Marvin Harrison in the second half of the season because he's a rookie.
Okay. So what I always say with rookie wide receivers is I don't draft them because they're inevitably going to not play that well in the first half of the year. It's in the second half of the year that they tend to have figured it out and arrive. So I always don't draft them and then I trade for them. And people are always going to be frustrated with them. And what at the beginning of the year with the rankings, Ross, you remember I said Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to come in around maybe 30 on the year, but that's not the story of his year. The story of his year is the beginning is going to be way down and the second half is probably going to be a boom. So if I'm understanding correctly, you were offered Brian Robinson Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr., and Addison just for Kenneth Walker. And you've got all those running backs.
Yeah, I would. I'm not a big Walker guy.
I think you got to accept that. I mean,
I would press accept, and Marvin Harrison's gonna have some big games coming up.
Even if it was just Brian Robinson Jr. and Marvin.
I mean, I like Brian Robinson. Honestly, I like Brian Robinson Jr. better than Ken Walker III. I mean,
it's interesting.
I'd rather have Brian Robinson. I know he's kind of banged up. He's playing tonight, but he's not 100%. But Eckler paid for him last week and looked great. But Brian Robinson is playing tonight, and he'll get 17, 20 carries a game. I mean, they love riding him. He's a good running back from Alabama. I like him.
All right, we finally got an answer to the mystery of what Access MIA was saying.
Good.
Saying he never made it, and he was talking about a famous YouTuber kicker. Do you know this famous YouTube kicker?
That's funny. I know what he's talking about.
Okay.
But you're right. See, the thing is when you kick with nobody rushing you and you got when it's not a game situation, it's totally different from kicking.
That would be that would be a funny YouTube thing to have a YouTube kicker who then they try to block him over and over and over.
High school practice and they can do it for you.
That's true. They can just do it there. Okay, Juan Pena Jr. has another trade comment or question. Traded DJ Moore for Ramondre Stevenson. Still got Kenneth Walker, Kyron, and Breece Hall. My wide receivers are Justin Jefferson, Mooney, Downs, Myers, Madison, and Etienne on my bench. Do I trade Stevenson for a receiver? I would. You've got a lot of depth at running back from what I can see, but I mean, Listen, I like that trade, the Marvin Harrison Jr. trade. Do that right away, and then your problem's solved.
Yeah, exactly. I
So
like Marvin Harrison the second half of the season. I think, especially with the Cardinals having somebody to play for because they're not in last place, they're in first place. I think that's a great idea.
I think if you have any chance of getting him now at a reasonable price, you get him. So I would go ahead and pull that first deal, Juan, and then if not, sure, you can trade Stevenson for a receiver. All right, got offered Debo and Waddle for Kenneth Walker, or should I?
Kenneth Walker's like the talk of the town.
Yeah, everybody wants to do.
I was offered Debo and Waddle
for Kenneth Walker, or should I counter with Stevenson for Debo straight out? I like that's interesting. What do you think, Ross?
See,
some of it depends on your depth. Because
but I do like Debo second half of the season. I think the 49ers have something to play for. I think he'll be a big part of the offense. And I'm a big Waddle guy. I like Waddle, not just because Casey Vladimon does his impression every time he says his name, but I like Waddle. He's getting paid $85 million. I mean,
sounds like you would pull the trigger then. You'd pull the trigger on Debo and Waddle for Walker.
Again, Walker,
and just use Stevenson then.
Yeah, I mean Stevenson
and Walker.
I mean, the Patriots are always behind and they're always losing. They're always May has to throw the ball.
No, that is trouble. But sometimes there's not that much difference between the player that somebody wants and the player that you have. Yeah. And when that's the case, and you can get a Debo and Waddle for Walker and just keep Stevenson, I'd rather have Debo, Waddle, and Stevenson than Walker and Debo. I would say. Probably.
I like that. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right, Kurush Sarai, he says, start Devontae Smith or Juwan Jennings this week. I'm Devontae Smith all the way on that. I
tell him the reason why.
Well, it's the consistency of the role. I mean, look, don't get fooled by Devontae Smith having one bad week. Every player has bad weeks. They do. I mean, Justin Jefferson had a dud of a week last week. It happens. The question is the role and the quarterback that's throwing to them. Now, Jennings has decent enough quarterback throwing to him, but I'd rather have Jalen Hurts throwing to him. And his role that's the real question. So to me, it's Devontae Smith all the way. Ross, what do you say?
I agree with Kittle there and with Pearsall. And, it's just, for me, I just rather have Devontae Smith because, first of all, he won the Heisman Trophy. Second of all, he went to Alabama. Third of all, he plays in a place where he's going to get the ball at least 7-8 targets a game.
Now that was the most relevant point you made so far, but I'm with you.
But I think Devontae Smith's the one to start. I don't have any faith in Jennings like you do. It's boom or bust.
Yep. I mean, he's not a bad flex play if you don't have better, but over Devontae Smith, not a chance. Okay, Dylan Fink says start 1 QB, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 1 flex, full PPR. QBs, Daniels at Philadelphia or Herbert versus Cincy?
Yeah.
Why don't we go position by position? Who's the one quarterback?
Okay, so I mean Daniels is just a monster this year.
You can't sit him.
Bench him. No.
You can't sit him. We agree. Okay, running backs. So we're starting 2. Dobbins versus Cincinnati.
Yep.
Jacobs at Chicago.
Yep.
That's not Brandon Jacobs. Don't get fooled by that.
I know.
Walker at San Francisco. Okay, got to start 2 out of those 3.
Yep.
Wow.
Dobbins, I would start. He's good for a touchdown.
I'd probably sit Walker.
Yeah, I'm sitting Walker. Dobbins will have a touchdown and 85, 90 yards. Jacobs against the Bears defense did not look good last week against New England, who's not a good team. Yeah,
I think you got to sit Walker because of San Francisco.
Walker and San Francisco's getting healthy. Their defense is getting healthy, and Bosa's. They have a lot of their players back. I don't feel good about that start about Walker against the Giants in San Jose, where they play in Santa Clara. And then tight end.
Tight ends. Okay, we're starting 1. Fergie versus Houston. Hunter Henry versus the Rams.
Yep. Who do you like? I'll take Hunter Henry.
I'm going to go with Hunter Henry there.
Okay,
he's an underrated player. Okay, and for flex, you can start 1. Leftovers. McLaurin at Philadelphia.
Okay.
Nuke Hopkins at Buffalo. Dell at Dallas.
Dell.
Let's see. That's interesting. I would go with McLaurin there. myself. You're
Yeah,
go with Dell?
I'll go with Scary Terry, I guess. You talked me into it.
I mean, I just
I
think
was
he's.
just thinking Dallas is just so
But
bad, and
again,
that's a Monday night. That's a Monday night game, and it was
but
like
see,
Monday nights.
Dallas being bad doesn't actually necessarily help him. The game flow could
Yeah,
be just handoff to Mixon, and
I
Nico
get it,
Collins is coming back.
but
I
it's just
think
Monday night.
McLaurin's safer.
You usually have some hope on Monday night to, if you need a touchdown, you need 5 or 6 points, and Dell can do it. It's just there's always some hope there. You know what I mean?
It's not.
But
I mean,
you're
none
right
of these
about
are
Scary.
that bad
I think
sports.
Terry's going to have a good game today. I think it's going to be a high scoring shootout. I think we'll see over 50 points tonight with the.
I mean, here's another
Eagles.
reason to start McLaurin. You've got Daniels as your starting quarterback. I like a stack. It's really good because you want to score big. It gives you the best chance to win.
Yeah, it does.
I mean,
and the Eagles defense has been up and down the whole year. So
I think you play Daniels and McLaurin there. All right.
I like it. Okay, good.
Arturo Flores says, should I be worried starting Jaden tonight? I don't worry about that at all.
No, it's going to be a shootout. I don't know if the Commanders will win the game, but it's going to be a lot of points scored tonight. I see Jaden rushing for a lot of yards, and I see him rushing at least one touchdown in tonight, and that's a lot of points right there. And I think he'll have over 200 yards passing. So there you go. So I think he'll have a good night.
It's just hard to sit him anyway.
And it's
really
remember it's the national TV game. It's on Amazon. I know, I get it, but these guys, especially rookies, they want to show off. They want to show why they should be rookie of the year. They want to show why.
I think Jaden's going to have a big game, actually.
Yeah, he wants to show off. He wants to show why he should be in the league. I mean, not
he also, I'm sure he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder that he wasn't the number one pick. These guys, they all want that. All right, Pablo Rogoff says, full PPR scoring, need 2 flex spots. I have Austin Eckler, Ramondre Stevenson, Travis Etienne, Rashad White, Tank Dell, and Jackson Smith Najigba.
Well, Rashad White's not playing this week, so you can throw him out.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Austin Eckler, I don't know how much time. I don't know how much.
I'm a little wary of him.
I mean, I think Robin. I don't know how many. Last week he was great, but
I would start Tank Dell and Jackson Smith and Najigba myself. But listen, Jackson Smith and Najigba is a risk. I just think
I would start.
He looks like he's around to me.
I like Stevenson. They're playing the Rams.
Stevenson would be the running back I would play out of all those choices.
Yeah, Stevenson with the going against the Rams defense, which isn't the greatest, and it's going to be a close game. They'll be running the ball a lot. I think
he'll probably get a touchdown. You twisted my arm on that one also. I'd go Ramondre Stevenson and Tank Dell.
Yeah, I don't trust Najigba at all.
It's not that I don't trust him at all. I don't trust him yet enough.
And Travis Etienne lost his job. He's not the starting running back anymore. It's Bigsby. So,
all right. Real Tommy V says, no, Arturo, Jaden's a dog. And that's a positive connotation for any of you sports fans out there.
Okay,
who missed
good.
It. Yes.
He spelled it correctly, right?
He did. Yes, it wasn't a DOG.
Got it.
Okay, Arturo Flores then says, and we're going to finish up on this, guys. And what do y'all think about Neighbors rest of season? His schedule looks so good. Real Tommy V, of course, says, I like Neighbors.
We all like Neighbors. It's just, do you trust Drew Lock? Do you trust Daniel Jones? I mean, I think Neighbors had a great chance to be rookie of the year. Beginning of the year, he looked great. The first 2 games, he was like.
Well, that's the other thing about rookies. I say get rookies later, but sometimes rookies also hit a wall. And
I think that concussion hurt him a lot. I think it has not been the same since he get back from that injury. And I don't know. I just think the Giants team is in disarray. Their GM should be fired. I mean, that guy's a complete idiot. Did you see? They did that show on HBO. What's it called? What's the show?
Hard Knocks?
Hard Knocks. They did a Hard Knocks during the offseason with the Giants. And they showed behind the scenes of the whole Barkley negotiation with the GM. And he's trying to talk like he's a brother, like he's talking like jive talk with these guys. He looks like the biggest nerd in the world. He's a complete idiot. I mean, seriously. I mean, this guy does not know how to speak to people. I mean, he should be fired just off. I mean, he wasn't disrespectful. I'm not saying anything like that, but just he's living like it's the 70s. I mean, he was saying terms that people don't use anymore. I mean, he's an idiot. And this is the GM of the Giants. You can watch this. I'm sure it's on YouTube. A complete buffoon. And I mean, I don't know how this guy got the job, but I think I can throw a rock at any football stadium, hit some guy in the head, and he'll be a better GM than this guy. Idiot.
All right. Arturo Flores says, thanks, you all. You are welcome. Pablo Rogoff says, thanks as well. Really great being with you. We're going to answer one last question, Ross, before we wrap up. This from Access MIA again. Mooney was limited in today's practice with an Achilles injury. Flex Myers, Jennings, Eckler, or Andrews. I have Debo starting, by the way. I like the hand to the face. Oh, my God. I have to start one of these guys. So Myers, Jennings. So in that case, I probably would start Jennings. Because
I don't know. I kind of like Andrews. He's been kidding the touchdown. He's been being part of the offense lately.
He would be my second choice. He might. I mean, we're doing a lot of twisting each other's arms today.
I mean, Lamar Jackson.
I'm with you on that.
Right now, Lamar Jackson's. I mean, I think Lamar Jackson's the MVP of the league right now.
But let's go. Let's go with Andrews again. It's because of the role. He's got a solid role.
And Eckler, I don't know what his time. He's not going to have much time.
Yeah. Okay.
Etienne or Eckler?
TS has one more question. It's all about Eckler. Etienne or Eckler, PPR?
Let me just answer the Eckler thing real quick. So Eckler plays for the Commanders, correct? Yes.
That is correct.
So Robinson's
You are correct, sir.
Robinson's playing tonight. I believe he has a hamstring injury, which is a very tough injury if you're running back. So he's playing. One bad hit or one bad move,
and he's out. And then Eckler's out. I pick Eckler in that.
So, and Etienne is just
he's been terrible.
I mean, look at his stats. I mean, whatever happened to this guy? I mean,
you know what? I actually think he's going to end up on a different team, and he's going to do well.
Yeah.
So look out for him next year as a bounce back. But
I would have Eckler just because he'll be in their third down situations. And I don't know how long Robinson's going to be out there. So there you go.
Our TS says Tank will be out, by the way. I hadn't heard that. Did you?
Oh, Tank's out too now. Great. I thought it was questionable, but is that for sure?
I'm going to quickly look it up.
I thought it was questionable.
Well, he was questionable the last time I saw, but I don't see anything. I don't see anything confirming that yet. So I don't know where the news is coming from, but look out.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
TS says he hasn't practiced. But listen, tomorrow's the day that you got to see if they practice. A lot of guys don't practice on Thursday. And by the way, it's also a Monday night game. So, you know, that changes things. A guy not practicing on Thursday for a Monday night game, it is a Monday night game.
Who does Jacksonville play?
Oh, yeah,
who does Jacksonville play?
I'm going to look that up for you. Hold on one second. I
think they're at home.
Let me see.
Who do they play?
I'm checking. Hold on a second. So, but listen, a guy not practicing on Thursday who has a Monday night game, I'm not worried about that at all. I actually think Tank Dell is probably going to play unless you have definitive news. Travis Etienne plays at Detroit this week.
Okay.
So I think you go Eckler there.
Yeah. You know, the script of that game, Detroit's like a 14-point favorite too, which means that they're going to be behind by a lot of points. They're not going to be handing the ball off to Etienne. They might throw him some passes though.
Yeah, I don't
that game script is going to be like Detroit's going to just roll over those guys by like 30 points. And seriously, it's going to be like 42-7.
All right, Real Time V says, fantastic show, guys. Thank you. You are welcome. Thanks for being here with us, Tommy. As always, take care, everyone, he says. We covered that. Okay, Tim Cox. One last question. Needs a start. 3 full PPR. Hopkins, Devontae Smith, Debo, and Jennings. Okay, Debo and Devontae Smith are automatic. I start Hopkins over Jennings. That's what I say. Real Time EV agrees with me. Ross, what about you?
Agree. I mean, Hopkins. I think Hopkins against Buffalo this week it's going to be a high scoring game. It's going to be a great game.
And he's becoming a favorite target of Mahomes.
It could be an AFC preview for the championship. What do you think about those words?
I could completely see that.
And I think we'll see. I'll predict it right now. You could quote me on this. I think we'll see Kansas City's first loss on Sunday with Buffalo beating them. How about those words?
I can definitely see it, but I still think Kansas City is going to end up in the Super Bowl. How about those words? That's probably not surprising.
I hope not. Anybody but Kansas City guys.
I know. We're all ready for a change.
I beg you.
We need the change candidate.
Oh, please. I just don't want
all right, guys. It has been a pleasure as always. Next week, Ross and Casey will be here on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Ross and I will definitely be back on Thursday. I think Casey's going to be joining us as well next week for the strategy show. Also 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Ross, it's been great being here with you.
One more prediction I need from you before I leave. It's the Grey Cup on Sunday in Canada in Vancouver. It's the Winnipeg Blue Bombers versus the Toronto Argonauts. Who do you have winning that game?
I was going to say the Argonauts before you even asked who was in the game.
I'll take the Blue Bombers.
It's got it. Okay, go ahead. It's at your risk. All right, guys. It was a great show, guys. It was a pleasure being here with you. We look forward to talking with you next week. We'll catch up with you soon. Thanks, Ross.